What's going on, everybody? HBCU Game Day, SJG here, and we have our very own CIAA HBCU Women's Basketball Insider. She has been on top of women's basketball all year, and we really appreciate her for it. Now she's a football lover first and foremost, but we have turned her into a women's basketball junkie, and we are much better for it. Dellan, how are you doing? All the way from PG County.
Yes, I'm good. I'm excited. We have some really good basketball ahead of us for this tournament.
Yeah, so Dellan is a graduate of Bowie State University, and she also attended Maryland Eastern Shore as well. So shout out to them, formerly Maryland State, since it's the 75th anniversary. You know, we'll drop all the old names whenever we can.
Right.
And so she's been able to see the majority of the teams in the CIAA, right, this year. I guess with the new schedule, with two teams, with everybody playing each other twice, maybe it gives you a chance to see some teams in the South maybe that you wouldn't get a chance to see. So how has that been, just getting a chance to, just having kind of everybody come through at least once?
It was really good. Like you said, I never really got the opportunity to see as many teams as I did this season. So getting a chance to look at not only the Northern Division, but the Southern Division, and get a chance to see all the talent that you see on the stat sheets and as the leaders, just to see them in action was really, really amazing.
Bet. Okay, so now we've gotten to the end of the year, and a breakneck pace in your last game of the year. Bowie State, a team that we figured would be up in the hunt at this point, taking on Lincoln, a team that maybe snuck up on a lot of people this year. Lupa, as you love to call them, you've adapted the initials with a nod to our friends over there in Missouri. What was the atmosphere like yesterday, knowing that it was a big game on the line?
The atmosphere was crazy, and Lincoln always travels well just because they're right up there in Pennsylvania. It's not a really long trip to come down to Maryland. So for the women's and the men's game, we had pretty filled stands, and especially considering the implications on the line for the women, it was insane in there through all four quarters, especially in the fourth quarter when the game started to get a little closer. But once Bowie State pulled through, it was insane.
Right. So definitely, it's been a great year for CIAA women's basketball. We always know Virginia Union is going to be a great team, and this year they've been able to do it in the CIAA play mostly without Sharika McNeil, the best scorer in college basketball. So with that in mind, we can talk about that as we go along in the brackets. But let's see. Why don't you give me your who would be your? Now they're going to give the awards out on Monday, and this is Sunday when we're recording this, so we're prognosticating. I like the SAT where we're prognosticating on who we think may win some awards.
I'm kind of torn in between two people who I feel like deserve to be Player of the Year. My first person will have to be senior Kwanzaa Murray, coming from Lincoln. She's actually the scoring leader in the conference right now, averaging a little over 18 points a game. And she's been a force to be reckoned with. This isn't anything new. She's been a big deal for a couple of years now. And she was also featured in Sports Illustrated in early February. And that was a pretty big deal to me and to Lincoln as well. So, I feel like she deserves all the recognition that she can get for that. Alongside her, I'm going to have to give J.J. Williams from Bowie State, another senior. I need to give her love. She's actually averaging a double-double, and for, I believe it was the first 3 weeks, for the CIAA's Player of the Week, she got it 3 times in a row. And that's something that you don't really see that often. So alongside the double figures and points and rebounds that she's averaging, I just feel like both of them are kind of neck and neck. If I absolutely had to choose, I feel like I would go with J.J. Williams, only because her presence, even if she's not putting up all those points in the game, just her presence on the court, she's going to attract those people to her so she can free up somebody else and they can make those shots. So if I had to choose, I will go with J.J. Williams, but I'm liking Kwanzaa Murray as well.
Right. Okay. That's fair enough. On the men's side, I would say it's crazy. Last year, it was just so easy. At this point, you knew Amir Hinton was. I mean, heck, by the start of the month, you knew Amir Hinton was the Player of the Year. This year, it's not quite as easy, and it's not because there aren't great basketball players in the CIAA. I think it's just parallel to the season that has actually been this year, where there hasn't been a dominant team or really even one dominant player. So you go through the list of people that I would look at. Roger Ray and Terrell Leach. Both those guys are seniors. Ray for Livingstone and Terrell Leach for Virginia Union. They actually both hit the same number of field goals. They both played 28 games. Roger Ray finished with more minutes, I think, by he played another 75 minutes. Now there was some overtime games in that, so that's actually quite a bit. He pretty much plays the entire game. He finished with 23.8 points per game. Terrell Leach finished with 23.6. So you got those two guys, both very impressive. Livingstone's record kind of fell off. Then you've got two other guys, Casey Minor and Robert Cologne. Now, these guys didn't play nearly as many minutes or games as the other two. Cologne played 26 games and 755 minutes, and Minor only played 22 games and 691 minutes. So, but they averaged 18.5 for Minor and 16.8 for Cologne. So they didn't score as much, but again, they didn't play as much. They weren't on the court as much, but their teams did better. So it really just depends on how you value what do you value as a Player of the Year. It's worth noting Roger Ray also led the league in assists, so that's a big deal as well. But again, he played a lot of games, a lot of minutes, and he really didn't have any help. So do you like the guys who were able to put up the most points, or do you like the guys who maybe didn't score as much but their teams finished with a better record? And both of those guys, both of Minor and Cologne, as well as Roger Ray and Leach too, and also Grayson Kelly at Shaw, they all hit big shots for their teams and all had their moments. Right now, if I had to choose, I think I could go Player of the Years. I would give Roger Ray and Rob Cologne. I would probably say that they're probably co-MVPs. Ray for his individual performance, even though his team fell off expectations, and Cologne's teams overachieved, and he played some key moments there. But again, if Roger Ray, Terrell Leach, Casey Minor, or Rob Cologne win, I don't think anybody's gonna make a big fuss about that. So all of those guys are deserving, and they'll all be recognized. So now we'll go to Coach of the Year. What do you like? When you think of Coach of the Year, what does Coach of the Year mean to you? And then who's your Coach of the Year?
When I think about Coach of the Year, it's not just about how the overall record ended up. It's about what you survived, what your team went through, and how you helped your team get through it. Because everybody has gotten a gut punch or two during the season, but if you were able to recover it, if you were able to keep your team together, that shows what type of coach you are to me. And so, all that said, my Coach of the Year will be Coach Anne-Marie Gilbert, coming out of Virginia Union, with her losing her top scorer, averaging a little over 30 points a game, and then still somehow, someway miraculously claiming the CIAA North. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And she has such an amazing overall record. And again, to do that without her top scorer. A lot of people tried to tie the recent success of Virginia Union to Sharika McNeil, but losing her and still seeing Union doing what they're doing is amazing. And you just have to credit the coaching for that.
Yeah, I mean, as great as Sharika McNeil is, and she's great, we all saw that, we've all seen that in person at one time or another. Coach Anne-Marie Gilbert does this, whether it's Lady Walker, in 2017 when those young ladies went to the national championship game. Or there's Kiana Johnson, who really started the run over there, Virginia Union. She always has a star player, but she always has a lot of folks who play the background but can step up when necessary. And shout out to twin Shamika McNeil, who I believe I would expect to see her get all CIAA recognition, and good for her. Everybody knows about her sister, and they love each other. But both of those young ladies are competitive. They want to play, and they want to, and so it's great for her that with her sister, maybe not with her sister being down, she was able to step up. So, and I feel the same way with you about Coach of the Year. I think some years it is the team with the best records. I mean, if there's if you go, if you're only losing 1 or 2 games, 3 games in a year, like which has been the case sometimes at Virginia State, then Coach Lonnie Blow would be your guy. But if you're looking at, for me, again, Coach of the Year like you is the most impressive coaching job, and I would say it's a tie between 2 coaches, and that is Coach Stephen Joyner Sr. Over there at Johnson C. Smith, and Cleo Hill Jr. At Winston-Salem State. Both of these teams were picked to finish, I think, 8th and 9th in the CIAA overall. I think they were picked to finish maybe 4th and 5th in the South. So not a lot was expected of them at all, and they overachieved, and they both got a share of the division title. So, I hate to go cold, but in a year like this, I think that either of those, if they win that, they would be fine. And then again, even with Coach Blow, they're the defending champions, but they lost a lot of players from last year, and early in the year, they looked like they might fall off, and they just found a way to keep winning. And another 20 win season right there for them as well. So, it's been exciting, amazing. So we talked about the awards. Let's go over to the brackets now. And we'll just go back and forth. I'll let you kind of break down how you see the women's going. I'll break down how I see the men's, and if there's something we want to interject, we'll just go from there. But let's start on Tuesday morning. What we got?
All right. Tuesday morning, we have Elizabeth City State, the 4th seed in the North, kicking it off with St. Aug's, that's the 5th seed in the South. These teams are kind of neck and neck because ECSU is sitting at 11-17 overall, and St. Aug's is at 10-18. They're pretty close when you look at it stat-wise as well, but I went ahead and picked Elizabeth City State to come out over St. Aug's just because they have a little bit better defense, and I see them surviving over top. Okay. Next, we have, let me pull the bracket back up. We have Bowie State and Shaw, and I'm just really prepared for that to be a good game. Bowie State is the 3rd seed in the North. Shaw is the 6th seed in the South, but don't let seeding fool you. Shaw is a pretty gritty team, and they're not going to lay down easily for anybody. I do have the Bulldogs coming out on top, but I do see Shaw putting up a fight. After that, we have Livingstone and Virginia State. Livingstone 4th seed in the South, Virginia State 5th seed in the North. Livingstone's been having a pretty better season than the Lady Trojans this season, and they also have Deja Harris on their side. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Livingstone to come out over Virginia State. And then concluding on Monday is going to be Winston-Salem State, 3rd seed in the South, against Claflin, the 7th seed in the South. Claflin hasn't been having the best year. I believe they have 1 win on the season. That said, I easily have Winston-Salem State coming out. However, anything can happen in the tournament. I would love for Claflin to prove me wrong. However, I see Winston-Salem State coming out on top.
Yeah. Again, I saw Claflin play Winston-Salem State, and they almost beat them that game. That was a squeaker there for Coach Lamonte over there at WSSU. So, I mean, that could be a trap game for sure. WSSU is on a little streak, though. They've won 2 in a row. So they've had some injuries to overcome. They lost 3 starters, but they have been resolute in finding ways to win. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday. All right. So for the men, we kick off with Lincoln and St. Aug. Now, Lincoln surprised a lot of people yesterday, Saturday, with a big win at Bowie State. Dellan, you saw that firsthand. I was surprised to see that result.
Yeah, they were raining threes. They were not playing. They came to get that redemption win, and they got it in a big way.
Right. So St. Aug is a team that their record isn't great again, but they have won some big games. They beat WSSU last 2 weeks ago, and really WSSU came in on a 7-game winning streak. They knocked them off from that winning streak, and really what played a factor in the overall race to number 1 in the South. I saw them against Livingstone as well. They gave them fits. And so, I've seen both of these teams. I've actually had a chance to see all the teams in the CIAA this year, again, with the playing each other twice. I think I'm going to go with St. Aug winning that one. And then we'll go to the 8:50 game. We'll have Claflin versus Elizabeth City State. To me, this is offense versus defense. Claflin, as a 4th seed in the South, they are a team that is very dangerous. They beat the top seed in Winston-Salem State. They've given some other teams. They beat a division champion, Winston-Salem State. They've given other teams some scares, and so I like them in this. I like them in this game to win their first ever CIAA CIAA tournament game. Is their second year in the conference. So I'm gonna go with Claflin. On this one. So the South goes 2-0 on Monday to me.
Sounds good. I like it.
And it's not Monday. Keep saying Monday because there was a games last year on Monday, but it's actually Tuesday. Tuesday starts everything in Bojangles, so we'll have
right.
So we'll go over to Wednesday, and we'll still be in Bojangles.
All right, Wednesday we have top seed in the South, Fayetteville State, and they'll be coming off of their first round bye, and they will be hosting Elizabeth City State. Again, that 4th seed in the North. Fayetteville State has been good for the entirety of the season. They finished 18-8 overall, 15-2 in the conference, and undefeated in divisional play. So that's just amazing to me. They haven't exactly gotten the recognition they deserve. For me specifically, because, I kind of keen in more on the North, but Fayetteville, I see you, I respect you, and I see y'all coming out on top for this matchup against Elizabeth City State. Following them, it will be top seed in the North, Virginia Union, going up against Livingstone, again, 4th seed in the South. Virginia Union, as we all know, they've been here before again and again and again. They know what they're doing. They know what they want. They're not at that top seed for no reason, so I see them coming out on top as well.
Yeah, like I say, they played each other on Wednesday last year in Bojangles, and it was a classic game we'll never forget. Sharika McNeil putting up 59 points. Just one of the craziest performance I've ever seen in person overall. Of course, Sharika McNeil is injured. She's not there, which kind of levels the playing field quite a bit for everyone. And but still, a lot of talent over there at Virginia Union, and I mean, they just win games in their sleep. I can't recall their women losing, not making it to the Spectrum Arena ever, or not making it to Thursday or Friday since I've been doing this. So they just are consistently very good. It's a busy day, so that's a light day for the women, a busy day for the men. So let's start it starts at 10 a.m. And this game, now, if you know me, I'm a vampire. I don't like to get up too early. Now, 10 a.m. on Wednesday, I will be present and accounted for at the CIAA tournament at Bojangles, because Fayetteville State and Shaw, 2 teams in the CIAA South, Shaw has had a really rough year. And that's really being nice to say. They went winless in the division. Not very many games in the conference that they won as well. But they've got a great player in Grayson Kelly. He's a good player who, if the team was doing better, he would be probably in the running seriously for CIAA Player of the Year. He's been really good. The team has not. And Fayetteville State, they have 20 wins for a reason, and they're a really good team. They lost some games in the division in the South, and they will be playing a Southern Division team. But I think, if you're Fayetteville State, Shaw's the team you want to take on first. So bye Bears. They'll be going back to Raleigh. And so then we got some women's games in between there, which we just talked about, and then we'll start at. We've got at 12:10, a very interesting game, the most interesting men's game of the first 2 days for me, and that is Bowie State and Livingstone. Now, this goes to show you how much I know, or how much I thought I knew. I started the season saying that Bowie State and Livingstone was my championship pick. These were my two championship picks, and here they are in the first day. Here they are on Wednesday, fighting for their lives, and somebody will be going home. For Livingstone, it's not that long of a ride. For Bowie, a little bit further, but I've seen Bowie. I saw Bowie once, and maybe I just picked a bad day to see them, but that was a blowout in Winston-Salem. And then they played Livingstone, and that was an overtime game, and they lost to Livingstone and down the road in Salisbury. They haven't really had a lot of luck in North Carolina lately. They're a talented. Not at all. They're a talented team, and they have every year. During tournament time, Coach Brooks has those guys ready to play. So this is a really tough game for me to pick. I've gone back and forth about it even since the last time that you and I talked about it. I've gone back and forth again. I am going to go with Livingstone solely because I'm not ready to see Roger Ray's career end just yet. I think he's still got another big performance on us, but they've lost so many games at the end, or close games, that if they don't get out to an early, quick lead, then you'll start to wonder if they can pull it out. But I mean, that's a hell of a game for a 12:10 p.m. So it will definitely be a good one. Then there'll be some women's games in between. So then we'll have, I picked Claflin to advance, winning their first CIAA tournament game. It's very nice. It's a very nice story. Sure. Sadly for them, their ride will end there because Virginia State does not lose CIAA quarterfinal games. So I'm going with Coach Blow. He's got a balanced offensive team. He doesn't have any stars, but he just has a whole bunch of guys who are long and lanky and can play his brand of disciplined ball. Not necessarily the sexiest brand of ball sometimes, but they get the job done. And I'm expecting them to do nothing less than that on Wednesday night. And then we've got Johnson C. Smith. I'll have them playing St. Aug. Now, I told you St. Aug has actually won. St. Aug beat WSSU. They actually played J.C. Smith to an overtime game in Raleigh not too long ago. But this game is going to be played in Charlotte. It's not going to be played in Raleigh. It's a nightcap game. I expect Bojangles to have a solid Johnson C. Smith contingent there. And I don't see St. Aug being able to beat Johnson C. Smith in this atmosphere. So that's how I'll go. And so we will go to Thursday when we'll get to the big girl rounds, where we'll be playing in the Spectrum Center. So I'll let you take it away for a start, because we're going to start ladies first.
All right, Thursday we have second seed in the North by way of coin flip, Lincoln, and they will be going up against
coin flip. It's 2020, man. We got to get these coin flips on record, man.
Something, because it's killing me. But that's a completely different rant. They'll be going up against Winston-Salem State if they make it past Claflin. I feel like the energy at this game is going to be insane, because these are two great fan bases, and that can be the maker or the breaker between this game. I do see Lincoln coming out on top, but I do see it being a great game nonetheless. After that, immediately following, we will have second seed in the South, Johnson C. Smith, and they'll be going up against third seed in the North, Bowie State. Now, a reminder for those who do not know, Johnson C. Smith took down Bowie State early in their season, actually ended their undefeated streak. And so either Bowie State can be on a redemption look or it can be a repeat of what it was, because it was a pretty good game, but Johnson C. Smith had something to say in that game, as we all saw. I do see Bowie State coming out on top. However, we all know anything can happen during the tournament. So that should be a good game, but I see Bowie State coming out on top.
Does that mean we're going to be eyeing the refs a little bit more? Anything can happen in? I'm just messing. J.C. Smith, is going to be in Charlotte. It would be, the Charlotte media does want the sexy story of them winning, but we'll see if that happens. But I'm just kidding. I'm sure all the refereeing will be on the up and up. Hey, Commissioner Carpenter. McWilliams.
Amen.
All right, so we'll switch to the men. 7 p.m. Virginia Union, the second seed in the North, taking on Fayetteville State, my third seed in the South. Man, it's a tough game for me to pick. I've gone back and forth again with this one as well. Virginia Union, Terrell Leach, second leading scorer in the CIAA, really talented. The supporting cast, sometimes they can help him out. They're going to need to help him out in this game because Fayetteville State is a very balanced team. They got 20 wins, and they'll have more than that by the time they've beaten Shaw. So they are a tough team, a tough out. But you know what? I'm going to give the edge. To Virginia Union. I'm going to give the edge to Virginia Union in this game. Coach Butler, I think he's going to have his guys ready. And I don't think they're going to go out sad in the first round, even though they have done that a couple times. And then we'll go 9 p.m. game. Winston-Salem State, Livingstone. Man, these two teams are separated, for people who don't know, school-wise by about 30-35 minutes. For Winston-Salem State, that is their closest game, their closest person that they play consistently. There's another school up the road in Greensboro that's probably just as close, but we'll save that for another time. But this one, is all the rivalry game smoke. I think the smoke is still rising from the CE Gaines Center on Saturday night. It was a hot and heated game. Winston-Salem State has swept Livingstone in the regular season. It's hard to beat the team three times in a row, but Livingstone is going to have to overcome having played the day before. And, they have Roger Ray, who's the leading scorer, a great player. And they've got some other pieces around him that in the Elmore twins that can be difference makers. But far too many times this year, they have come up short in games. And so Roger Ray's going to have to, I've seen both games this year, Roger Ray's probably going to have to score 45 points for them to win. And he's very much capable of doing that, but off of a back-to-back, you just don't know. I think I'm going to give WSSU the edge in this one, and they'll advance in the bracket. So we will go to Friday, the Final Four. Things are really cooking at this point. What you got for us?
All right, it's semis time, and it'll be Lincoln kicking it off against Fayetteville State. Two underdog teams, two underrated teams that have been showing up and showing out throughout the season, but may not have necessarily been getting the recognition that they deserve for it. So both of these teams are going to come in here with something to prove. I do see Lincoln coming out on top, but that's not to discredit Fayetteville State at all. It's going to be a great game, but I do see Lincoln making an appearance in the championship.
Okay.
After that, we will have Virginia Union up against Bowie State. And if I have any Bulldogs listening, please just hear me out. We know how this can go. It's a toss-up anytime they see each other, and it's been this way for the last couple years, ever since I started following women's basketball in the CIAA. When I first started covering it in 2018, Union and Bowie women has just always been intense.
Yeah, man.
All that to say, I do see the Lady Panthers coming out on top and making that championship appearance again. I don't think that the Bulldogs are just going to, lay down, but I do see, Union just having a little more gas, since they haven't had to play as much during the week as Bowie would have had to. So I see them making that championship appearance again.
All right. And hold on, I'm gonna pause it real quick and for starting. And
okay.
you know what? And a lot of you guys may not realize this, but what Dellan did was really big. So Dellan is a Bowie State alumna. She loves her university. She is also a member of the media here with us at HBCU Game Day, and we cover all sports at historically black colleges and universities. And it can be tough. It can be tough going. Sometimes it's head versus heart. You always hope. There's a part of you that always hopes that your alma mater will win, but there's also a part of you who has the responsibility to tell the truth, report the game, and sometimes it doesn't happen that way. And you don't want to get to be the person that's like, oh well, it doesn't matter, whatever. So that's a very tough position to be in. In those games, man, your nerves rack, but you have to kind of hold it in check and just kind of let things let it play out the way that it plays out. But it can be very nerve wracking. So in the name of that, you'll see that in just a second. So we get to Friday for the men. After that, I don't know, after that Virginia Union and Bowie game, if it is what I think it'll be, man, we're gonna all need a timeout after that to unwind from that. But the 7 p.m. game, that's going to be Virginia Union. I have it as Virginia Union and Johnson C. Smith. Number 1 in the South versus number 2 in the North. Seen both of these teams, and very talented Terrell Leach. We talked about him. Casey Minor for Johnson C. Smith. He's their leading scorer. Also, one of my favorite players in CIAA and HBCU basketball right now, Nenad Milinkovic. He is. Harley has dubbed him the Wolf. I just remember seeing him last year at the tournament when J.C. Smith was playing in Bojangles, and he was just so intense. And he didn't score a lot, but his intensity really rubbed off on his teammates, and he was doing the little things for them to win. And he's just got a little bit of that IDGAF, and if you understand what that means, then you know what it means. I saw him the other day, the Winston-Salem State game, Winston-Salem State and Johnson C. Smith, and it was going back and forth, and the WSSU fans were out there, and they were flying the flag and talking a lot of smack, like they do there, like those folks in the red and white like to do. And he hit some big shots and some big threes, and he just looked over at him and told him to keep talking with his hands. He's fearless, and I just love watching him play. And this Johnson C. Smith team was expected to be at the bottom of the barrel in CIAA South. Nobody expected much from them, but here they are going up against Virginia Union, who messed around and won this thing a couple years ago. Just got hot at the right time. But with that said, I think I feel like Johnson C. Smith is a team that is going to be hard to beat them on that Friday night. I'm going to go with Johnson C. Smith in the first final. And the second final, I get my chance, head versus heart, because we have Winston-Salem State versus Virginia State University. So these two teams have played each other twice. I think both games were decided by 6 points or less. The second game, I got the chance to see that when the two teams played in Winston. Both teams are very talented and have a lot of guys that can hurt you. Like we just talked about with Winston-Salem State and Virginia and Livingstone. It's hard to beat a team three times. I think this one can go either way, to be honest with you. I'm going to pick Virginia State because they have the experience of getting there and advancing on Friday night. Now, not a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys sat, but some of these guys were there last year. But I think this will be very close. And I'm going to issue a challenge to the Winston-Salem State fans, the Winston-Salem State faithful. Now, they talk a lot of noise, and there's a lot of WSSU that will be in Charlotte on Friday. But I think this will be a game where the teams are so close that if you can make it feel like home, the energy of the crowd is going to be worth 5 to 6 points. And I think this is a 5 to 6 point game. So we'll see if the WSSU faithful, since they'll be right there, right in their backyard, if they can come in and make a difference for their team, because I think they're going to need it against a Virginia State team that is just, they are built for this moment. So it's going to be an intense game, but I'm going to go with Virginia State to advance.
All right.
So we get the championship Saturday. Here we go.
All right. Here's the big one. I have a Battle of the North with the top seed, Virginia Union, taking on the second seed, Lincoln. I've gone back and forth with my winner about 5-6 times, but I'm going to stick to what I've originally said. It's going to be crazy. Between Lincoln and Virginia Union holding the top two scoring offenses in the conference, and the point differential is barely a spread of 2 or 3 points. Virginia Union is averaging 71.2 and Lincoln's averaging 73.6. But then we have Virginia Union with the second best defense, but immediately following is Lincoln. I'm gonna go with Lincoln coming out on top, though. I feel like this is their year, even though they didn't have the best ending to the regular season. I feel like that's what's going to power them through this tournament, alongside Kwanzaa Murray just being her senior year, already being the scoring leader in the conference right now. I feel like Lincoln can take this whole thing home.
You know what? I'm rooting for. I don't know her status, and hopefully I'll find out sometime this week how she's doing. But wouldn't it be crazy? Wouldn't it be crazy just to throw it out there in the stars if Sharika McNeil is close to being able to play, and they get to the championship game, and they're playing Lincoln, who beat them by 30 at one point in her hometown in Charlotte in the final CIAA women's basketball tournament game in Charlotte. If she came out and I don't even know if she would even need to score and play. I don't even know that she would need to score and shoot. I think if she ran up and down the court for a little bit, it might be the Willis Reed effect, and it might just send her teammates into a frenzy and Charlotte into a frenzy, and maybe that launches them up there. I don't know. I would love to see it. We'd love to see it. I would fall to the floor. We would love to see it, but we'll see what happens. Like I said, I don't know what her status is with her and her injury. I think she injured her ankle, her knee. So that, you definitely don't want to wish her back too early. But I know she's a competitor. She would, if they get to that championship game, I know she's going to want to get out there, and it's going to be tough for her again in her city where she put on such a show last year. That would be like the best. If nothing else happened and that happened, I'd be good. So there we have it. We have the proclamation there. So you have Lincoln taking it all.
Lincoln taking it all.
Right. So, okay, there we go. So back to my championship prediction. I've got Virginia State versus Johnson C. Smith University. I saw these two teams play back in early December. Smith got the win. I think State got the better of them at home. But, this game's going to be played in Charlotte. I think there's something about Johnson C. Smith. They've just found a way to win games most of the time this year. Lost to Virginia State here. They had the big loss to Winston-Salem State, but Casey Minor didn't play that game. But I think they are. I think that last tournament in Charlotte, I'm putting all the pressure on Johnson C. Smith. They're number one in the South. They've got some really good talent. They've got a coach who's been there before and knows how to do it. I think we may see Smith hoist the championship. So, that's my pick right now. And again, Coach Blow has done a great job with Virginia State. If they're the champs again, would not be surprised. Honestly, if any of the top 4 seeds were the champs, I'd not be surprised. Again, the thing with this is, and there are teams even a Bowie State and Livingstone. Both of those teams have the talent. The talent gap in the CIAA isn't always that huge. They have the talent, but they've dug themselves in a position where if they don't, they're going to have to win a lot of games in a lot of days. Like Livingstone is going to have to play Livingstone or Bowie State to get to the championship game is going to have to play 4 games in a row. And they're probably going to have to play a number 1 seed and a 2 seed to get to the championship. They'll have to play, so it's a very tough road. It's been done before. I think Bowie State did it in 2013, the first year I went to the CIAA tournament. But it's very tough to do, and that's why you fight so hard for those seedings and things like that. But, so there you have it. Those are our prognostications. Of course, I think our brackets are usually by Wednesday, by the middle of Wednesday, you're usually like, oh, well, this didn't happen. And by Thursday, for sure, you're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, just go ahead and toss it in the trash.
Right, but it's always fun to talk about and fun to speculate. But it's nothing like being there for the tournament. I know you were there a couple years ago, and I've been able to go every year since 2013, and it's just been nothing short of amazing. Last run in Charlotte before it comes up close to your neck of the woods over there in Baltimore. So you'll be the home team next year. We'll be asking you where to eat. But yeah.
I won't really know, but I'll be able to ask the people for you.
Right. PG County and Baltimore, 2 different worlds. Got it. So for Dellan Sellars, this is SJG. We'll be at the CIAA tournament all week. You can follow us on HBCUGameDay.com, social media everywhere, HBCU Game Day. And then also make sure you follow us and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We'll be doing some talking, some different chats in between the week. But Dellan, I'm looking forward to it. Get down here safe, and we're going to have a ball.
Absolutely. I'll see you Tuesday. Everybody make sure you show up and show out for your team.